Okay, sorry for being a minute late. It wouldn't let me press live, so I'm not sure what that was about. I'm gonna invite Hannah. There she is. Okay, so she should be joining soon. Hi, gorgeous.
Hey, that was so smooth.
It was no, not on my end. I
I
put
know.
live and then it wouldn't go, and I'm like, that's weird. Okay, I'll try it again, and I'll try it again, and I'll try it again. I don't know. It was so strange.
Honestly, well, we're here now. That's the best thing.
The
Yeah,
joy of social media and technology.
tell me about it.
Well, I know this has been an anticipated behind the scenes because so many people have emailed about questions regarding social media. And so I'm really excited to speak with you today.
Amazing.
And if at any time you have a question for me, let's make it a dialogue like we did with Jess. Okay.
Perfect. Sounds good.
So the first question is, how did you and Caroline meet?
Okay, so this is a really interesting story. So I used to run a dog walking business, and I was on Instagram, and I've always been following Caroline because she does so much amazing work. And I was just going through my stories, and then I saw this picture on Caroline's story of her back garden, and I was like, I've been there before. Like, I know I've been there before. So I just kept scrolling. Then I went back to it and I was like, no, I've definitely been there before. And I used to actually look after a dog that lived in Caroline's house before she then moved in. So I messaged Caroline and I was like, this is probably a bit creepy, but I have been in your house before. I used to look after the dog that lived there. And Caroline was like, well, that's really strange because I was literally saying to my husband today that we need help with the dog Coco. And I was saying to the universe, I was like, send me help for Coco. I need help for Coco. And then I popped into her DMs the same day saying, I've been in your house, in a non creepy way. And yeah, I ended up helping walking her dog. And then very quickly we ended up talking about, spirituality, all of our similar interests, and inevitably I started to, work in her team, and just it all naturally unfolded. But it's because of Coco the dog.
That is such a great story, and it seems like this is how she attracts her team. Some
Yeah.
divine intervention.
Yeah. How did you get involved with her team? I've never heard the story, but I can imagine it's magical in some way.
Yes. So, I was off from work, a story of which I cannot divulge everything. Let's just say eventually I was made redundant.
Mm.
Um, but it was a very long, drawn out process, if you get my drift.
Yeah.
And anyway, during that time, an email just kind of came into my inbox from LinkedIn, and I'm not very much on LinkedIn,
Mm.
but it was for her Fear to Founder program. And so I said, oh, that kind of sounds interesting. And I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. My whole family, they're all entrepreneurs. I said, oh, that's interesting. Maybe this is my next step. So it was a 30-minute class. Was absolutely enamored with her. I'd never heard anything like it. And I took the class September 23rd of last year and went away, sat with it for a couple of weeks. And then I said, I need to go find out what that lady's name was. Because I wrote tons of notes, but I didn't write her name.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was still able to find the post and found her name, and then started poking around on her website and taking all of her free things and then buying
Yeah.
Soul School and this, that, and the other. And then I had heard her mention on one of her courses about her inner circle. So I messaged her and I said, I don't know what this thing is, but I want to be in it. And
Wow.
it was closed. It was actually closed at that time. And she welcomed me in. not knowing, and she also did her free event, the Magic Trail, and I was chosen for one of the speed coachings. And
Oh, good.
that's when I found out that I was from California, and she'd been having all these universal signs about California. And then here I flew into her life from California. So from then on, I took her inner circle, and she had this exercise where I think she calls it whatever's in the box is, like it just is. You write what you want down and you put it in the box and you forget about it. One of them was, I want to work with Caroline. I don't want to go back to the corporate world. Like, I just love her so much, and I've taken every single course of hers. So I put that in there, and here we are. So
Manifested it. You're a
mhm.
massive manifester. I love it.
Yeah, she's an amazing, amazing person. So I think that was my question. The very first question from the audience, I think, is going to resonate with a lot of people. So I'm going to break it up a little bit so we can answer each one really well. So the first one is, do you believe you can build your coaching business without a website and just social media?
Mm, that's a good question. Definitely yes. I don't have a website myself currently, and I run my own coaching business and business mentoring business as well. I create landing pages instead of having a website. A website is a big investment. I think definitely if you're a startup entrepreneur as well and you don't have that kind of is it disposable income? It sounds wrong to me, but yeah. So for me, I personally think no. I think you can. You don't need a website. I think it's completely possible to build your business using social media and, really developing a community. I mean, that's the main thing, is building that community of people, getting them to know you, getting them to like you, building that trust, and just pouring out content and a vision from that soul-led place as well, and kind of speaking from that place. And I think naturally you'll find that things will grow that way. So no, I don't think you need a website. It's going to be a long time until I have one. I'm more than happy with my landing pages looking all professional and nice. So yeah, I think it's completely possible, and I don't think you should let that stop you from moving forward and going out there. I think we can develop all of these blocks, like, oh, I need a website in place before I do this, and I need this in place before I do this. And I just think that's, like another limiting belief and another kind of story that we're telling ourselves. I think you'll find that you can have the business you want without all of those things in place.
Yeah. And I know one of the questions that somebody's asking, because I'm asking it in my head. So create a landing page.
Mm.
What system are you using? Are you
So,
using, go ahead.
yeah, so I use MailerLite, which
Okay.
is at the end LITE rather than light. And that's how I build my landing pages. And then I, establish my link tree in my bio, and I direct people to those pages. And, from a business perspective as well, of really wanting to protect your energy and prioritize yourself through that process, having a link where you can direct people, to that place rather than you having to explain everything all the time. It flows better, and it's a really good reflection of you. So I'm usually sending links to my landing pages, and it's difficult at first to build your landing page, but when you have that guidance and when you have someone to support you through that, it's really, really easy, really manageable. If
Yeah.
I could do it back then with no business support or anything like that, then anyone can.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
taught myself how to use WordPress and all of that. So if I can do it, you guys can as well. I've built websites. I wouldn't say they're amazing, but I've built websites from scratch. So YouTube and stuff is your best friend. So you can definitely do that. And I think one of the big things that I've learned from being in Caroline's world is when you're in her courses, there becomes a community, and somebody in there has dealt with the question that you have. Like, For example, in her Fear to Founder group, there was a thread yesterday about a virtual assistant, and somebody was like, "Oh, I love mine, and she's in Australia." So
Exactly.
this is the
Yeah.
beauty of community and knowing each other and having you to ask questions.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I run Ask Me Anything sessions. So if anyone's like new to social media or they're not sure like where to begin, because I remember, I mean, I was reflecting on this earlier actually when I first started my online business and how I really had no idea what I was doing and it was just all messy action. And honestly, some of the things that I did, I'm just like, wow, she was brave to do them. There was a lot of learning from that. Then yeah, I definitely recommend just reaching out to me because I hold these sessions for all, you know, startup entrepreneurs primarily, but even for people that really have no idea of where they want to go or what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, so um, her next question you kind of answered already, but she said, at what point is it time to go ahead and just create the website?
Mm, at what point? I mean, for me personally, I think it's a financial investment and so, I mean, I've explored setting up a website myself in the past, and what I've come across, and this is only my experience, so I can't speak for everyone, but I'd say it's an investment of around like £1,000 to £3,000, so that's like British pounds, which at the time for me it wasn't my priority. So I think it just comes back to priorities. Like as soon as you feel the need to kind of have a website and you don't feel like the landing pages that you can set up which are pretty much free. I think MailerLite's like $8 a month, so very very minimal overhead costs. Yeah, when it's I think again it's always intuitive, isn't it? Like coming back to the intuition, you will just know when it's right, and you will know when your landing pages are no longer serving you in your business, and you want to move on to something more professional and have a website all put together, and you have the finances coming in to be able to cover those overheads comfortably. I think that's when the time is right. But for me, like, yeah, I think landing pages are just the next best thing. That's definitely what I recommend.
I agree. I do mostly landing pages as well, through a different service than WordPress. But you know, like you said, it comes back to alignment. Does it feel aligned and right for you? That nobody can really tell you or make that decision for you.
Absolutely.
Once again, even though we're on the techie side of the conversation, it's still coming back to intuition and
Always,
alignment.
always does.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. I feel like a large portion of my followers are other coaches looking for business as opposed to my own ideal clients. Do you have any tips for reaching the people you can convert into clients? So it sounds like some tips on building your followers and being
Yeah.
able to them.
So I think the main piece of advice I would give is implementing hashtag strategy. So a really interesting thing that you can experiment with, and I always recommend just experimenting with the different strategies and see which one has the best results for you. So you want to be thinking about the hashtags that your ideal client are using. And that might be, so for example, I work with a lot of women that are learning to practice self-love and really honor themselves. So a hashtag that I follow, because you can follow hashtags on Instagram if you type in, is hashtag learning to love myself. And what I do is I follow that hashtag and I engage with the content that those profiles, you know, the profiles that are using that hashtag are posting out. I engage with that content. I like it, like I'll comment if I feel like it's aligned. Again, everything has to come from that aligned place. I don't like that kind of icky, salesy, cold DM approach where it's like you've not even engaged with their profile and who they are as a person, but you're already DMing saying like, hi, I'm a blah 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 coach. Do you want to work with me? Like, I do not recommend doing that. I feel like that would just get you nowhere. I think it's very kind of like a cold approach.
Yeah,
But
very.
Yeah, but definitely implementing that hashtag strategy. So I suggest just really kind of honing in on your ideal client, who they are, and start to think about the niche hashtags that they'll be using. And I think it's really important to focus on the word niche, because we don't want to be using those hashtags where millions of, like when you go to pick a hashtag and you can see like I think it's like hashtag 1 million or 7.9 million people have used this. We don't
Mm-hmm.
want to be using those, because
Mm-hmm.
all that is doing is when you're posting content out, your content is just getting lost in millions and millions and millions of posts, similar posts, different posts. So we want to be using niche hashtags, hashtags which are not less than 10,000 and are not more than 1 million. So you want to be in between that. And that means that you have more of a chance of your content being seen. And if they're hashtags that your ideal client uses, then you're targeting those people as well. So that's one of the strategies. There are many, but that's like the one that I recommend.
That is a really good strategy because I've never heard of it.
You'd be surprised how many strategies exist out there. I mean, the way people can grow their page and develop their business online now is insane. And that's just one of the many strategies that you can implement.
And I think this is a kind of funny behind the scenes conversation we were having via email a couple of weeks ago. And I think you said something about Pinterest, and I was like, oh, new to that platform, never been on there.
Yeah.
um, it just goes to show you can learn anything at any age. And, maybe dating myself a little bit, but, I think another thing too that we have to think about is, do you only run on Instagram? Like, are you on multiple platforms? Because I know that's a really big question for a lot of people. Oh, you're welcome, Laura. I'm glad. I think we got all your questions answered. Yeah, we did. I'm glad we were able to do that. But back to what I was going to ask. My computer keeps falling asleep. I must have turned on the sleep mode quicker. I got to keep my hand on it so it doesn't keep doing that. So I see the questions. But do you only are you only on one platform, or how do you feel about being on multiple platforms?
So for me, it really comes back to your ideal client. So you really need to be asking yourself, where are my ideal client? Where are they hanging out? Are they on Facebook? Because is that kind of like the target market you're well, if I make it a bit clearer than that. So let's say, for example, for me, I'm primarily on Instagram because my ideal client hangs out on Instagram. Like, that's how I target them best. But for other people, I know they get more success out of, being on Facebook and kind of joining groups on Facebook, which are, again, where their target market are hanging out and where they are. Another thing to think about as well is where are your ideal clients most likely to buy? And are they the type of people that would be comfortable buying something off Instagram? So, for example, if you have a product-based business, do they see Instagram in that way? Would they actually buy, or is Instagram just to scroll on and just kind of connect with people? Are you more likely to have sales with your product on Facebook? Because that's when, for me at least, I'm more comfortable purchasing something on Facebook for some reason. Like, I never use the you can actually shop on Instagram now. I never use that. And I think it's just about being really clear on who you're serving and who you're selling to, and just asking yourself, where are these people? Because that's where you want to be directing most of your energy.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I've never even thought about that. I do feel very icky when I see ads on Instagram, but on Facebook, I don't really purchase a lot off there anyway, but I have once or twice. My mom sent something and I bought it for her. But
Yeah.
I agree with that. And I think that as always, it comes back to your intuition and alignment as well, because, I've noticed that I can feel very icky being on certain platforms, more specifically LinkedIn, because there can be a lot of negativity on there. Um, but then that also makes me want to breed in our positivity.
Mm.
More spirituality concept into LinkedIn, but then sometimes I'm like, I can do without that.
Yeah, again, like I always say, just do what you enjoy the most as well at the same time. You know, like your business should be something you love. And I know there's always elements to when you're running a business that, you know, we have to do things that we don't like, and that's just the way things are. But, you know, if you're engaging with a platform and you have to be engaging with it every day and it just doesn't feel aligned, then I wouldn't recommend doing that, or at least find a middle ground where you can plan content and schedule it in and post it out without you having to really be present on there. Because the main thing when you have an online business is building that community and building that following that feel like they know you, so that they will then convert. So you want to be enjoying the platform that you choose, because you'll need to be on it a lot, you know, engaging with people and sending messages and getting to know people that are in your community. So if you're on a platform that doesn't feel aligned, I recommend just maybe shifting priorities, and then, yeah, getting yourself onto one that you are comfortable using and that you're happy being on, you know, for a portion of time. I love Instagram.
Yeah, I actually had never been on Instagram before about 6 months ago.
Well, you know, everyone's different. And honestly, before I started my online business, I went through this phase where I wasn't on my personal social media account for like a year. I was anti social media for about a year. And then I created an online business, which people were like, weren't you anti social media? And it's like, well, people change.
Yeah, your reach can be so much more.
Impactful. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just had a question because I know other people are probably thinking the same thing. You said something about, getting your audience to know you more. And
Mm.
if you're kind of an introvert or afraid of being visible, how would you suggest that you get your audience to know you more through your posts?
Yeah. Okay. That's a good question. So, I think just find a way, again, intuitively that feels right for you. And the most important thing is just having those conversations with people. And that doesn't mean you have to be putting your face out there. It just means you need to be using like call to engagement tools on things like your stories. So, you know, when you put like a Q&A or a poll, and you can like answer and you can ask questions and get people to respond. So if you're an introvert and you don't want to be visible in your story all the time, you know, like doing mini trainings and things like that, there are ways that you can do it that suit you. And like, for example, if I'm having a day where I don't want to be showing my face, or I don't want to, you know, I don't feel like things are flowing. I mean, there's so many days where I go to click record and I'm like, it's just not happening today, Hannah, stop forcing it. Like, you can use images and text, and you know, you can have people reply and then have conversations in messages, and then eventually build up to voice noting when you feel more comfortable. Like, there are ways. Like, I have so many introverted entrepreneurs as friends, and they are incredibly successful. And again, I think it just comes back to what we were saying before of, you know, that's a story that we can be telling ourselves, like, I'm introverted so I won't have business success. I mean,
Right.
I know so many introverted people that have incredible business success, and also through going through that process, they've become more confident as well, and they really start to own what works for them. So they might not do lives, but they might do, you know, recorded stories and then push them out because that's more aligned with them. Like, you just find your way, but the most important thing is you just don't allow yourself to not birth what you want into the world just because you're the way that you are, which is still a strength in so many ways.
Yes, and you're unique too. I think
Yeah,
that's something that people talk about, saturated markets and things like that, but everybody is unique.
yeah, absolutely. And I think there needs to be this balance of, you know, forcing yourself to be someone you're not and actually just really owning who you are. And also not allowing yourself to be too much in your comfort zone as well at the same time. You know, it is scary even for like extroverted people. I mean, I describe myself as an introverted extrovert. So like people always say, like, oh, you have a very confident energy, you know, you're happy being out there, being visible, but then I need like a lot of downtime where I'm like away from the entire world. So, you know, everyone is different. And the first time I started to record stories and put myself out there, you know, the first time I recorded lives with people, I mean, I was frightened. I was so scared. And I was also just not very good at it.
Hmm.
For being completely honest. I mean, I look back at some of the first stories that I put out there, and I was probably chatting for about 5 minutes and not really making sense. And you grow. The more you put yourself out there, you just learn through trial and error. So I always say clarity. Oh no, I always say that action provides clarity no matter what. Even if
Yeah,
it's not the action, it's better than not doing anything at all.
absolutely. Caroline talks about inactivity, procrastination, and perfectionism are just three things that you really need to get over because I don't know if you have the same saying there that we have here in the US, but don't let perfection be the enemy of good.
Ah,
And
yeah. So,
yeah,
yeah.
so husband and I say that all the time because we can get into this mode of just like, and they've also done some studies where about 20% of your energy it takes to create about 80% of a project,
Yeah.
where the last 80% of your energy is for the last 20%. And
Mm,
so constantly striving for perfection, you're just only going to burn out.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, so
I
that's the,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think embracing mistakes in business is everything, because all of these successful entrepreneurs out there have made so many errors, but they just learn from them and they just keep going, you know, they keep moving forward and they just keep repeating that process again and again and again. And I mean, I run sister circles online, which I also run at Caroline's house as well. But you know, I remember the first circle I ever ran, and I mean, I was really, really nervous. I mean, I'd never done anything like that before. I used to be really kind of uncomfortable talking to people anyway. I used to just struggle really badly with like social anxiety. But yeah, I just remember being super nervous. I didn't really know what I was doing. But what I learned from doing that and from putting myself in that position, I'm so glad I did it. Like, I am so glad that I put myself there, because yeah, like the circles have grown into what they are now because of that, because I
Mhm.
made all the errors initially.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
everybody doesn't have the same lens that you do either. They're seeing it at face value.
yeah,
So,
so true, so true.
okay. So the next question is, how would you describe working for Caroline?
Caroline is, I believe, someone I manifested into my life for a very important reason. Like, I just feel like I've known her for so long, and I can't even describe it. Like, I run my sister circles at her house, and I'm in her office with all of her crystals, and I'm in that energy. And I mean, I'm always trying to embody Caroline in some way when I'm in that space, because it's very inspiring for me, you know, like as a coach and as a mentor and as someone who holds space for women. I'm always inspired by Caroline, and just her approach and her outlook on life and her bravery and just like her fearlessness. And
Mm-hmm.
I get this real sense. So, being in Caroline's team, there was definitely this emphasis on the bigger picture of, you know, we're here to enjoy our lives and this work is important, but it can be fun and it can be something where all of your individual strengths as team members shine in their own unique way. So, I feel like I can just be myself working for Caroline. And I also feel like Caroline as a person in my life is just like a mentor for me on a personal level as well. Like, whenever I'm going around for the sister circles, I look forward to coming down the stairs and she's just there, and I like want to pick her brains about things. I'm like, Caroline, what's my numerology? But yeah, she's amazing. And yeah, all of her work she just embodies every single day and is such a soul-led human being. It's just really lovely to see, just someone who embodies everything.
It
Yeah.
is really different for me because I've shared previously, but not today. I grew up in a very masculine family. The
Mm.
family I didn't even know existed. And
Yeah.
so this entire way of thinking about intuition and gut, and alignment and flow and eat so new to me. And
Mm.
that's why I think I was just so drawn to her because my soul was like, yes, finally. I described one time that it was as if like she reached into my heart and just like held it in a way that I've never felt before and always yearned for.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's absolutely amazing. And I agree with you on the first day when we were kind of chatting that I would join the team. That was the first thing she said. This is has to be fun. Like, I don't want it to feel icky and I always feel aligned. And I'm like, what boss says that?
Yeah, only someone with all of her knowledge and wisdom would say that. And I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like when Caroline speaks and when she shares her wisdom, it's always coming from like her soul to yours. So it does directly speak to that
Mhm.
soul within you, which we all have within us. So yeah, she's amazing. She's amazing.
She is. So the next question is, what would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned from
Mm.
her about being a coach?
The biggest lesson is, so I'm certified, so I've done like the qualification, I've done all of that. So I've been shown how to be a coach. And then when I got to know Caroline, I realized that actually my intuition is my strongest superpower. And I was having all of these like soul whispers, like, well, maybe you should try this with clients, and maybe you shouldn't set this many goals initially, and maybe for your first session you should just do this. But I was like, no, 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 no. Like it has to be done like this. I've been shown this way. This is what people expect, blah, 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 blah. And honestly, since I've been listening to my gut, as always, I know you can imagine what I'm about to say, but the transformations I was guiding my clients through just up leveled because I was moving from that place within rather than I should be doing this. And I can't describe it. It's just like people always, I noticed there was a change when clients after my sessions would email me saying, that was really powerful. Like that was really transformative. Like I had so many breakthroughs. And I'm like, why didn't I do this to begin with? It's like I should have always trusted myself. And the ripple effects of that in your whole life are huge. You know, when you start to trust your gut within your business and you see the direct results, naturally you start to do that in all areas of your life. I mean, business and life aren't separate. You know, that's such a myth that we're fed, like my business and my life are separate, but they're not. And yeah, you just begin to trust yourself in all sorts of ways on, you know, decisions, like big life decisions, going to certain places. And I guess for me, moving out of always needing that logical evidence behind decisions as well within my business and my life was huge. So when I got this kind of, like, for example, in February, as I shared with you, like I'm going to Costa Rica, that is not a logical decision. That is not coming from here. That's coming from my body. That's coming from my intuition saying, I need to go there. I need to meet with these people, blah, 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 blah. And I'm doing that because of her always kind of saying and sharing, trust yourself, trust in the not yet seen, trust in the not yet seen. Like I have that written up now in my room, like, trust in the not yet seen. So it's amazing.
Yeah, it is. And I'll never forget the day that I decided that I was going to purchase the inner circle happened to be November 1st, which is 111, which I didn't know at the time.
Oh, yeah, amazing.
And I walked in the morning and I had just woke up and I walked into my husband. Now I'm the only income I choose to have my husband stay at home because it is just easier for childcare and stuff. And so I walked in and I said, I'm not going back. And I don't know how this is going to work out, but it just is. And I feel it in my body. And it's true. It's really true that, you know, when you trust your gut, you trust your intuition. Here I am 6 months-ish later. And, you know, I've now manifested my dream job and my dream team that I work with. I'm a coach, which I've been told many, many times in my career. So I'm naturally a nurse, or I should say my first job is as a nurse. And throughout my career, I've been told I'm a great mentor. I would help many, many nurses. I precept them, mentor them through their process. And now here I am as a coach, and it just feels so natural. I have one friend, her name is Angela, and she just says to me, it excites her so much to hear that I'm finally following what she feels I was like destined to do. So when we come back to that soul place, it will always, always make no sense on paper.
Yeah,
But
I
so
don't think it does. Yeah,
yeah.
it's fascinating. I always think, like, imagine if all of us followed our gut and followed our intuition, and I think the world would just become this incredible place to be a part of and to experience, because we'd all be moving from, yeah, our intuition, our soul's purpose, essentially. I'm like, I always say to people, just it's the same with coaching. You know, when I work with clients and I say, you know, this isn't about me knowing the answers, it's about you knowing the answers and me just holding the space and guiding you to that place. And at first people are like, oh, I don't know the answer, I don't really know. And I'm like, but you do know. It's just there's either blocks in the way, or we don't want to see the truth, we don't want to see the bigger picture. So I always kind of ask, you know, what's your intuition saying? Like, what is that voice within you saying? And pretty much 111% of the time, like, that client then says, okay, well, it's this, this, and this. And I'm like, we always know. We always know. We just have to trust it, and we have to allow it to speak and allow it to come through. And when you make decisions from that place and from that voice, it's scary, which is why a lot of people don't want to do it. It's really scary. I mean, I've made decisions from my gut before which no one else understands. It's completely coming from me. At the time, I'm like, have I lost my mind? But on the other side, once you've made that decision, you're going through that process, you never look back and regret it, because your intuition is never wrong. So, yeah, I feel like I rambled there, but essentially trust yourself.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I always say turn the volume up on your intuition and your gut, and turn the volume down on fear, because fear is there to keep you safe.
Mm,
And so what's naturally going to happen, because we've all been conditioned to play it safe, or play small because we don't want to risk anything,
yeah.
then that volume has now become so loud, like you said, you can't hear the whispers of your soul. And
Mm,
so what I usually do is think about quieting that ego just enough so you can still hear her,
yeah.
but that your soul is really speaking to you, and your gut and your intuition. And usually you're going to be scared. You're going to have fear. You're going to have all of these things. It's natural and normal. But it's really important to feel in your body what you want to do.
Yeah, and I think that's the main thing as well. You know, when I work with women who want to connect within and connect with their intuition more, it's always about the body. And, you know, the intuition is very much within the feminine, so feminine energy, and that's very much within the body rather than the mind. And really moving out of your mind and into your body is going to help you again to turn up that volume a little bit more, like you said. So, you know, activities like dancing or yoga, I mean, yoga is so powerful for me. I mean, at the end of a yoga class, when I sit there, you know, in shavasana, and you kind of have that moment to yourself, and often the instructor is always asking you, like, what do you need to know right now? And you just kind of sit there and allow stuff to come through.
Mhm.
That, I just see that as my soul is speaking directly to me right now. You know, I've moved my body, I'm not really in my head anymore, I'm just asking my body what it is that I need to know. And to me, that's when I know it's intuition.
Yeah. I love Caroline has this activity, if you will, where she says, place your hand on your heart and your womb. And if there's our men on the calls, you also have a space down there as well, even though you don't have a uterus. And just start breathe and tune into what your body is telling you. So I absolutely love that. Okay, we are just about out of time. We try to keep these at about 40 minutes.
Wow.
I
That went
know.
so
Already.
quickly.
I know.
10 minutes. Okay. I
So,
don't want to go.
I know it went so quickly. So Caroline will be back next week. So feel free to send me questions that you may have for her. You can email me at Nicole at caroline-britton.com or message me directly through my at Mrs._Nicole_George. And I'll collate all of the questions for her for next week. Should you have any other questions? Oh, thank you, Styling My Room. We loved it too. Hannah's so fantastic. But should you have any other questions for me or Hannah, feel free to message us, okay? Oh, thanks, Laura. All right. Much love to everyone. We can't wait for Caroline to come back. And this has been so much fun. Take care.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Have a lovely day.
Love. Bye.
Bye.